When you think about most nonprofits, you probably think about fundraisers, grants, and donation drives. But what if an organization's most valuable asset wasn't money at all, but faith? Today, we're going to dig into the really unique model of Transbiblica to see how they turn belief into a powerful, practical engine for their mission.
And that really gets you thinking, right? When an organization's entire reason for being is rooted in faith, what does its resource strategy even look like? I mean, how do they gather the people, the skills, and the funds they need to actually make a difference in the real world?
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the why, the divine mission that's their foundation. Then, we'll explore their unique fellowship-first model. After that, we'll get into the nuts and bolts, their practical blueprint. And finally, we'll see how it all connects back to you. Okay, so first things first. Everything, and I mean everything about transbiblical strategy starts right here. To get how they operate, you absolutely have to understand why they exist. This isn't just some philosophical background. It's the engine driving every single decision they make. At the very heart of it all is this one powerful idea, the divine mandate. This is their core belief that the work they're doing isn't just a good idea. It's a mission given to them by God. And that changes everything. Members don't just feel encouraged to help out. They feel a deep, personal, divine calling to build what they see as God's kingdom right here on earth. And that perspective, it completely flips the script on what you'd call a resource. Suddenly, the most valuable asset isn't a line item on a budget. It's the people themselves. When members give their time or their skills or their money, they don't see it as just a donation. Nope, they see it as a direct, personal investment in a divine cause. And check out this quote. It really says it all. See that language? It's a personal matter. What that means is their whole strategy isn't built on big, flashy fundraising campaigns or constant appeals for money. The motivation is completely internal. It grows out of an individual's personal faith, which is what guides them on how and where to put their resources. So if you believe that God, not a board of directors, is the one mobilizing your people, well, what does your organization even look like? This core belief totally changes their structure, and it leads to what they call the fellowship-first model. And this is where the difference becomes so clear. On one side, you've got your typical nonprofit, right? Often depends on paid staff, formal fundraising, all of that. But the fellowship model? It's the complete opposite. It's an entire ecosystem built on volunteers, fueled by voluntary giving, and powered by the shared commitment of its members. It's just different. So what keeps people so invested? Well, it's a really powerful mix. It all starts with that divine calling, sure, but it's sustained by something deeply human, that sense of belonging and real support. Members learn from each other, they get spiritual and emotional backup. It's not just a one-way street of giving. They receive a lot too. And that creates this amazing, self-reinforcing cycle of commitment. Okay, so we've seen the belief system and the organizational model. But how does this all translate into a real-world practical plan? Let's take a look at their mobilization blueprint to see how they actually turn all that faith into action. And you know what? The plan is refreshingly simple. It boils down to two main goals. First, obviously, mobilize the money they need. But second, and this is just as important, is to mobilize what are called in-kind contributions. We're talking about the time people can give, the specific skills they have, and even physical materials they can offer up. As you can see, they are definitely not putting all their eggs in one basket. While those personal contributions from members are the bedrock, they build on it with a really smart, diversified strategy. They also look for support from churches that share their vision, from foundations, and even from government grants. This creates a much more resilient financial structure to support their mission. But you might be wondering, with a model based so heavily on faith, how do they make sure everything is above board? And that's a critical question. They balance their spiritual mission with really strong, practical governance. There's a formal board for oversight, dedicated bank accounts for transparency, and they follow all the legal rules, like annual audits and government filings. This framework makes sure that every faith-based investment is handled with total integrity. So we've covered their mission, their model, and their plan. But the final piece of this whole puzzle is how they turn this entire system into a clear and direct invitation. Let's see how they call on individuals, maybe even someone like you, to become part of their story. This brings us to the simple question at the very core of their growth. They essentially ask people to just stop and think. How do my own resources, my own passions, line up with this mission? It makes the call to action incredibly personal. And their answer is broken down into three simple, powerful categories. You can invest your time through volunteering. You can invest your talents, offering up your unique skills. And you can invest your treasure with financial support. It's this holistic view that lets pretty much anyone find a way to contribute that feels meaningful to them. And they wrap it all up with this direct call to action, which is rooted in a well-known passage about justice and mercy. It's really a powerful summary of their whole mission. Honestly, Transbiblica's model is a fascinating case study in how a deeply held belief can be engineered into a complete organizational strategy, turning faith from something abstract into their most tangible and powerful resource.